over the course of our time together these past few days, we've talked a lot about the rewards of these programs and the relationships that are built and the incredible opportunity to really get to know our visitors and to see those visitors time and time again. And that's certainly one of the things we have enjoyed most here at the Nasher. And so as we were planning for this conference, it was really important to us to be able to include the voices of those visitors. And that's who we have with us this morning, and we're thrilled to welcome them. So we have Sonda and Tom, who have been part of the program in the past year and have been attending our tours. And then Debbie, who has been joining us I believe since the beginning. I think since we first started our tours over 3 years ago, Debbie has been joining us and been part of this community, all thanks to the hard work of Lisa Gwyther, who is our partner here at Duke Family Support Program and helped us to originally launch this program. And then also at the table, we have Sandy Beeman, who is one of our Reflections Gallery guides and will be providing that experience to this conversation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. Thank you all.
We decided that it would be best to start from the participants' point of view. So I'm going to ask Sonda and Tom, in whatever order, to just start talking.
So to clarify, I'm the one that has cognitive problems.
So we started attending the Nasher Museum programs, the Lunch and Learns, maybe, I guess about a year ago. Tom was diagnosed in 2012, but had had some symptoms earlier than that in 2011. And I've attended probably around 6 of the programs. I continue to work, so I've missed some, but one of the nice things has been that Tom has still been able to come. And I have to say I haven't made time for art in my life. I'm a busy, I teach nursing, public health nursing, and it's just with raising 2 kids and just the normal keeping things going, art has kind of dropped off the radar, and the programs here have really been fabulous. It's just enriched me as personally, so one thought is to remember that this program is not just for the people with the disease. It is for the family unit, for the caregivers who are also at risk for issues. So it's just been stimulating to me. It's been enriching. It's a great opportunity to talk with the other people that we have met or get to meet, other caregivers, other people that are struggling in the same ways that we are. And the docents are just wonderful. So I just have to say it's a fabulous program, and I'm really fortunate and very grateful for the partnerships that have undergirded this and made this available, and it's just really valuable.
You want me to talk now? Mm-hmm. She usually does most of the talking. I think what's really been the most meaningful to me is most of the time I'm alone. I actually love to work with my hands, so I keep my brain active by fixing things, solving things, volunteering, and those kinds of things. There will be a point probably sometime soon where I won't be able to drive anymore, but I'm still, I passed the test actually, was it 6 months ago or something? So, but, so if you see me driving, I think I'm still allowed to drive. So, but anyway, I guess one of the things that given we're talking about the programs here, one of the things that I really have appreciated is the docents and their openness to engaging us as part of the participants. And I guess what I've enjoyed is the mental stimulation, because when you're looking at a piece of artwork, there's a lot of things that kind of spin in your head, things that you make connections with, even going back a number of years. For example, I know that there was an exhibit, I don't know, maybe it was a year ago or something like that, but it had to do with sort of a lot of the pictures in the Appalachian Mountains, and I have spent a lot of time doing that, backpacking and hiking, and knowing something about the Appalachian culture. So that stimulated me, and I guess what I enjoyed doing is not so much always asking questions, but making comments on what I was observing with the art. And we sometimes would have discussions as we move around. So it was better sitting at home, I'll tell you that, and more stimulating for me. And I've never been a person that like spent hours and hours and gone to many art museums, but I've gone to a fair amount, and I really appreciate that. And you may have heard as well as about the afterward, oftentimes of the tour, there's some time where we kind of create things. So we're drawing, and you've probably heard about that, so I won't go into that.
It's okay to go into that.
Well, again, that has been really good for me to sort of activate not only, not creating what I saw, but drawing and doing all kinds of other artwork has been very useful to me to engage and to share with others. Oftentimes we have a lot of these materials in front of us, and we're all kind of sitting around, you know, hey, can I borrow this, and all that kind of stuff. So there's, again, more interactions and stuff. So.
What surprised you the most about your experience here?
Well, again, most of my experiences with art had just been like walking around with the museum with no interaction, looking at, some visual artwork. And I guess what's meant a lot to me is that the experience is more than just looking at art. It's standing there in front of a piece of art and discussing it. And the docents have been very good about asking questions. And again, I enjoy answering questions and asking questions. So that's been a very good thing for me to continue to stimulate my thinking and to appreciate art more than probably I've done in the past.
Tom,
Can I just say, we've also, at least I've really appreciated I've learned a lot about the artists and about the time period, and it just creates a lot of new perspectives. So it's really helping our respective neurons to grow and connect better. So I think all in all, it's really great for brain health. But the docents sometimes have had additional pictures or video clips too to augment the, really learning about that one artist and the artwork that he or she created. And to me, that's just been really exciting to feel better connected with the artist.
And I've really appreciated the music. They'll bring in small groups that will come and play. Most of it's acoustical music, and oftentimes it's somewhat related to the gallery that has work that might kind of connect in some way. But that's been very meaningful to me as well.
one thing that is unique, I think, about your experience is Tom, because of their relationship with our larger early stage Alzheimer's community, has been able to has a friend who also has a working wife, and sometimes the two guys have been able to come to this together. And that allowed him to participate when Sonda wasn't able to. And I don't know, Sonda or Tom, do you want to say anything about that? That's sort of an ad hoc to this program, but it did make a difference, I think.
I think so, yes. It's nice to, number one, we get to know participants in the Alzheimer's groups, and it's great to be in a different venue and to interact with them and to share things with them as well. So.
Yeah, that's been really valuable because I'll miss the programs in the fall and spring because I'll be teaching again on Wednesdays when it is. So it's comforting for me to know that Tom still has an opportunity to take advantage of, even though I can't, be with him. and I know the group is always very welcoming and supportive of both of them coming together, or with his wife when she can come. So we try to trade off.
Some people may not know about the music component. We call our group, within Reflections, we call it Look and Lunch, except every other month when it's Look, Listen, and Lunch. And that's because we've been able, and we've been really fortunate, that Jessica was able to add music, some of which I guess you heard yesterday. One of the musicians that played for us was here yesterday. And that was also, I mean, I think that's been a great addition.
It's been stellar music. We had a sitar. I volunteered in India, so that brought lots of wonderful memories back for me to hear that music again. It's created, again, a lot of global opportunities to be thinking about that we are a global society. And it's just been excellent. I mean, and you're real close. You get to see the performer. And I think it's good for the performer, too, to know that the audience looks like anybody else, but, some of the members are having significant problems.
You want to say anything about lunch? That's a part of the program.
Yeah. Well, lunch is optional but most people stay, and it's been very nice to socialize. So either you attend the hour and a half, 10:30 to 12 tour in the morning, and then stay for lunch, or you come early and you attend the 1:30 to 3 program. So lunch is leisurely. We all sit together and, put tables together, and not all of us together, but we're close enough that we can converse and move around if we want to. The food is great. It's nice to get out, not to cook, not to deal with dishes. So yes, that's definitely an added bonus. And it's nice to support the museum, too.
Anything else that you'd like to mention about the effect of the program on you?
Well, I think I may have come more often because Sonda has to work many times. I guess it stimulates me, and again, I meet new people, and I appreciate different docents that have different perspectives, and they seem very open to having participation and questions. It's not so much like a didactic approach, but they encourage people who want to ask questions. And then oftentimes in the gallery there's a discussion right in front of the piece of artwork, because a lot of people want to sort of chime in and ask questions.
Should we move on to Debbie?
Okay, well, I was in on the bottom floor of the program when it started, and my husband, Tony, and I moved down here from the Eastern Shore almost 3 years ago. And he died last year of Lewy body and Alzheimer's. But he came all the time. I mean, we came every month, and I have to say that
There you are.
I was gonna bring that up. He had great speech difficulty right off the bat, and the docents bent over backwards to try and understand what he was trying to say, and were patient, and they got it. I mean, I can't say enough about the docents. They are the people who make the program. Because we could come in here and be totally relaxed. I didn't have to worry that somebody was going to start, acting a little funny when Tony couldn't say what he wanted to say. And yet they just took care of it beautifully. He enjoyed it. It was a place where he could come and not worry about anything. He was totally relaxed. And he wasn't agitated, and it was just great. And we always had name tags, which I think helps the docents, because when you've got a whole bunch of people that you don't see all the time, you can't remember their names, and I think it made every one of us feel much more welcome to be addressed by name. And it made you part of the group. And that picture, one of the programs, we were doing something to do with costumes. We were looking at different costumes. And so they had these racks of clothes and hats and furs and all this stuff. And told us to go pick them out and put them on. And Tony had a ball that day. He just thoroughly clicked and really enjoyed it. And another one that we had, which made me, I still chuckle, I've got a picture of it. We were looking at different kinds of old masks and heavy, some of them were big, heavy things. Well, they had some rubber ones, big, full rubber mask. And guess who put them on and just had a ball? And I've got a picture of him with this big green head. And we enjoyed the lunch part. Tony loved coming here and seeing his friends. I mean, it was a part of just really where you could come and relax, and we'd learn about pictures and learn about different types of art, but felt very welcome and just, you didn't have to worry about anything. And the last few months of his life, he was not that great, but he came and he stayed in tune with it. He really stayed in tune with it. And it's I enjoy it today. I mean, I get to come anyway, even though I've lost him. And they're very, and I remember the first time I came after he died, all the docents were right there giving me a big hug and make me feel just as welcome. And I get a lot out of the program. I know the caregivers get a tremendous amount out of it. I never, like Tom was saying, you go in a museum and look at art, and if you're just walking through it, you just kind of walk through, and if nobody's there telling you something about it, there are a lot of things you miss. And where we'd come and we'd sit down in front of a painting, and the docent might say, well, what do you see? And then you start looking at the picture, and it's absolutely amazing how much I have learned. That you look and you just see so much, and I think that one of the big things about the program is that when there's a whole bunch of us looking at a painting, you come up with many, many different ideas, and many, many ideas that I never would have thought of in the world. But it's a great program, and we've also enjoyed the music, and one day we played with clay. I don't remember what we were doing, but we were all given a hunk of clay, and so I think I made a little bowl. Well, Tony wasn't into making too many things like that, but he ended up making this big long wall. And it was about that tall, and it would just, and what is it? It's a wall, okay. That's what he wanted. And we did screen painting one time, which that was a lot of fun. And we also did something one time where we all colored pieces on a paper, and then it was all put together. They had drawn, it was a pattern and then cut up in little squares, and we all colored our own squares and then put them together, and when it was all together, it was fascinating. So they come up with good ideas for us. And I thoroughly enjoyed the program. And I know my husband did. I think it was just a super time that he could come and have a good time. And we could forget about other things that were going on. So I enjoy it very much today.
Is there anything that surprised you about the program or about Tony's response to the program?
Well, some of the things surprised me. I mean, he really, some of the things he really clicked on, and I know there were some things that maybe he didn't, but so much he did. And he enjoyed, the other thing I do remember, he enjoyed trying to answer what the docent would ask him a question, and it might be very difficult for him to answer, but they would keep at it long enough so they knew what he wanted. And it was very difficult for him to talk. But they were extremely patient, and I cannot thank the docents enough for what you do. Make the program.
That's great. I also remember how Tom talked about making connections to the past, like the Appalachian Mountain things. Well, Debbie made a really unique connection when she was here. One time we were looking at tapestries, woven tapestries, and it turns out that Debbie, in a former life, and I didn't even know this about you, was an incredibly accomplished rug maker. And so she agreed the next month to bring in some of her rugs, and we were able to all have a chance to see the rugs and to talk about it and make the connection, even though it was a month later.
That was our idea.
Yeah. Are there other things that you think are important to bring up about the program?
I'm sure there are a lot.
I have to say that Debbie isn't the only widow or widower who is participating in the program, and I think it enriches our experience to have these people here who are so knowledgeable and so experienced and want to hang in there with us. And I think that's also been unique.
Well, everybody's become my friend, and we're like a big family, and it's a great feeling. It's a super feeling.
Not just among the visitors, I think, but also I've never had the experience of going into a museum and knowing half the staff.
I know.
Or you see everybody that's working there, you know half of them by sight and a lot of them by name.
And they know your name.
And so the welcoming, I think, aspect is
Yes.
really,
It's fantastic.
really important. I'm a social worker. I'm involved with a support program that these people are all part of. And I think what's unique about this program was that when Jessica and I first talked about it in one of those classrooms many years ago, what we realized was people may not be willing to participate in something with a group of strangers. And so we brought in a group of people who were already connected and already meeting regularly. And I think that this program has really strengthened our sense of community, and community with Durham, community with being partners with the museum, and community among ourselves. It's a place where we can regularly go to meet our friends, where we are not talking about stress. We are not talking about our problems. It's not a support group in a formal sense that you go and talk about coping with issues. This is a fresh experience. One of the things I think people have gained from this is also a fresh perspective on their partners. And I've heard this from many of the families, is that, I never knew my husband knew that, or I never knew he had been to that place. And things come out, old memories are jogged. And so, for example, we had one couple who came, and they'd never even been in museums. And that day we had a music program, and we had a flamenco musician, and he brought a drum. And the man, who was not really into art at all, got up when invited and started playing the drum. Well, it turns out he had played the drum. And his wife of many, many years didn't know that, had never known that he had that background, and he was never really able to talk about it. But he had a wonderful time. We had a great time watching him. And I think the other thing is in the interactive art programs, we've found people who have incredibly hidden talents, including Tony. and who are suddenly able to look at what they can do in a whole new way, and their partners and their friends from the group are also able to look at it in a whole new way. I just want to make a couple of comments from the staff perspective about what I think makes this program really work, in addition to the fabulous docents and Jessica and everyone on the staff here. And that is all the behind the scenes work in terms of logistics. What makes this program work for us is that we send out reminders once a month. Who's coming, what the program is. Jessica tells us what to expect, sometimes what the theme is, sometimes what the music is going to be about. And we get that out to everyone in our 2 groups who might participate in this. And then they have a chance to respond, and they can respond to Bobby Matcher, who is the linchpin behind all of this and is the social worker in our group, in addition to Janelle Smith, who's sitting right there, who has also been involved almost from the last 2 years every time. But Bobby is the communication point. And up until people have things that happen to them in their daily life. So they can plan a week in advance. They can sign up for lunch so that we know in advance how to arrange the tables and how to reserve our tables for our group so that they can go right into lunch and meet each other at lunch. The morning and the afternoon groups meet. Well, that takes a heck of a lot of behind the scenes logistics.
But we appreciate it.
But it's not me, it's Bobby and Janelle for the most part. They really make that work. And one of the things they do is they give out their cell numbers. And so the people, if something happens last minute, we have people who get lost, we send intricate GPS directions and parking directions and everything, but people get lost, they get delayed, something happens, and they can always let us know whether to wait for them or not. And then they get here, and Jessica has these wonderful large print name tags waiting for us. And I agree with you all that the name tags really help. People like being called by their names. And they also like being reminded of the other people's names. Yes. We're all not very good with names. So I think that's another thing that helps. I think the unique features of this program are that we all have something we can learn that's new and fresh. I think we all also learn from the different styles of the docents. And one of the things I've learned from this is that just like in support groups, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a ton of humor that is brought out by contemporary art. And it's brought out by the people in our group and their responses to each other and to the art. And that makes it fun, I would think, for the docents as well as for us. I have one confession to make. When I first started talking with Jessica and the former director of the program about getting this started, it was purely personal. I had minored in college 100 years ago in art history. I had always wanted to be in a museum, and I wanted to find a way to make this program work within the context of my day job. But I had no idea how creative a program could be as it developed around a specific group of people who stayed relatively consistent. We added new people. We went from one group once a month, to 2 groups a day, once a month. We're now up to putting caps, and we tell people it's first come, first serve, and they answer Bobby's emails within 3 minutes. of the time she sends them out because they're afraid that they won't get in to that month's program. So we have turned something that we wanted to do into something in the community that's recognized as really hot and really desirable and something that other communities want to emulate. And I think a lot of that is attributable to the incredible dedication and creativity of the staff who are willing to learn from all the models, but we made this our own. And there is no other program like the Nasher. And we have one man in our group who, whenever he refers to any group gathering of our support groups, no matter what context it's in, calls all of them the Nasher. And everything good in his life is, well, are we going to the Nasher today? Whether it's a support group meeting or another event, a lecture or whatever, it's the Nasher. And I think part of it is the pictures you're seeing up there. They really say it all. So I didn't mean to take all your time, Sandy, but
feel like
we saved the best for last.
But I, first of all, just want to say how grateful I am to be part of this community. And that's really what it feels like to, I think, all of us who are gallery guides in this program. And I'm not going to try to represent everybody here. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me and what I've gained from this. And I was thinking over the last couple of days about what I wanted to say. And I thought about that first exercise we did about identity, right? And you started with this list of 20 different things about you. This is what we did our first day here. And we had to keep narrowing it down and taking out identities and came up with one. So the one thing you all know about me is I'm a gallery guide, right? But there were all these other things that I think inform me and why I am part of this program and what I gained from being a part of it. And some of those things are that Lisa's a secret artist, but I have a background in social work, and I used to be a social work educator and researcher, so I bring that. And now I'm currently an artist, and that I bring that to this group. I also feel like this is part of my contribution to my community, and I mean that at all levels, my local community of people, people in the U.S., people in North Carolina. This is something that I do to strengthen and contribute to the community. And then I was thinking about what Laurel said at one time. She had a list of different things about their program that she thought it brought. And some of those really resonated with me as I was thinking about this. Things like exploring. And I feel like every time we come together as a group, that's what we're doing together. We're not up there lecturing. We're not up there saying, here's all the information you need to know about this artwork. We're exploring together, and we learn as gallery guides. I know I do. I learn a little something new about an artwork every time I talk about it with this group. And Tom was talking about how people have questions and want to discuss, and it's just so excellent. We sit quietly. Nobody's in a rush to respond. Nobody's going to rush anyone in response. We sort of let it evolve as we go. So we explore those together, and I really feel like we're doing that as a group. Connecting, and Debbie talked about coming after Tony died and this community of people. I feel very connected to everybody that comes. And each time we do a tour, we connect a little bit more. We're connecting about the art, we're connecting emotionally. So that really resonated with me when Laurel mentioned connection. Sharing, we're sharing our impressions of the art. We're sharing our talents in the art room when we come together and create something. And then the last thing that she mentioned that made sense to me was that idea of transcending. And I think all of us kind of transcend all the different limitations we bring, and all of us bring those. And it's just really an opportunity to be together and explore the art and not think about what our limitations are. So that's all I really have to say.
I have one comment. I don't like sitting that long, but it's great when you cluster around a piece of artwork and you can actually sit and rest and focus rather than kind of just swaying or trying to see or those kinds of things. So that actually leads maybe to more thought and less, just standing and, thinking you're going to move on immediately.
Yeah, we kind of take our time. We're pretty flexible. I think somebody asked that the other day about, I think it was in the music group, that what if the music goes longer? People want to just sit and listen. And we're all pretty flexible as gallery guides in terms of, I think we're going to skip that piece, or, we're going to spend only 2 minutes there, and we do it kind of on the fly. We work together in pairs. I think we read each other's signals pretty well non-verbally. You can just make a little motion and you know what that person meant. It's a small group of us who do these tours. So we work together to develop the tour each month. We pair up to do the tours together. So we're a pretty tight group of gallery guides.
But you do change at times, because we could get talking about one painting and be on it for a long time, and I can see somebody looking at their watch and think, okay, we will maybe not see that one.
We'll skip on to the third. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the themes. That a lot of thought and time, I know, have gone into the planning that the docents have done. And, the theme and having a chunk of the museum that's manageable, and digestible is really, I think, very, very helpful. So I've really appreciated that.
Yeah, and we work together to develop those each month, and then think about an artwork in the different galleries, and make some stretches sometimes about how to connect them to a theme, but it usually works pretty well. And then either the music or the artwork also connects to that. So,
yeah, the artwork, well, both of that integration, Tom came up, when we were talking about this yesterday, the phrase, it cultivates the artist within, and that's really what the program does. No matter how far we have to reach in for that artist or back in time. But it really has brought that, more to the forefront. So that, but one of the artists, the crafts, if it's a craft, always links to an artist. And so one time we worked on a collage, and the artist that we looked at, one of the signature features, the people in some of the paintings had yellow gloves. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of that artist.
That's one of our current exhibits.
Okay, and so Tom and I had a lot of fun putting that together and cutting out little yellow gloves.
That's right.
And then talking later about in the future weeks after that, what really was that yellow glove all about? So by bringing home the artwork or pictures, again, it also creates transcends the time that we're here, but brings it into our home, and again enriches us much further than the time we're here.
One of the nice things for us was that group collage project was framed, beautifully framed, and we were given 2 of the pieces for outside the doors of our offices where Janelle and Bobby and I work. And people stop all the time. It's the only original art in the building, We're in a hospital. So it's really exciting, but people stop there and ask us about it, and we get to tell the story of how that was created by an entire group of people. And it all came together so well, and it's, of course, beautifully framed and displayed. But that's a way that we bring the museum program into the medical center. And it just gets people thinking. It cues their thinking about that. The other thing I wanted to mention, because I think it's important, is that the museum has been really helpful in making adaptations for us. We started out with those little black fold chairs, which we're still using. But some people's balance isn't that great. And they weren't comfortable sitting in those little seats. I wasn't particularly comfortable either. But anyway, they were able to get seats with backs that also were transportable. And they were able to have the seats set up in advance for the next place we went, so people didn't have to carry their seats with. I mean, these are small things, they're logistics. They make a huge difference. We also now, as the group has aged and progressed, and some people have progressed to the point where they need friends in the bathroom if they are with an opposite sex partner. That is no sweat here because we all know each other so well, and there's always somebody, and it's not necessarily, that's our group, that's not the docents necessarily, but we can take care of things that come up. So they have made what are not typical ADA adaptations that have worked really well for our group.
Oh, and there's always with Tony the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, if he had to go to the bathroom, somebody went with him. I mean, and it was always somebody in our group, come on, Tony, let's go. And off he'd go. And I have helped many a woman in our group that they kind of don't want him to go in there alone. And we all help each other. The docents have made the Nasher program a resounding success.
Anybody want to say anything about what happens at lunch? Debbie, you've probably been to more lunches than anybody.
Well, we usually always have gone in the morning, and so when we go into where we're going to sit, we see many of our friends that we were hoping to see, and everybody talks. And I can remember one day Tony and I were sitting at a table with a bunch of people, and a couple of people came in, and he jumped up and took off right over to greet him and give the man a big hug. And he was so happy to see these people. And that's what the lunch and the whole program made it so nice, was that you were there, and like Lisa said, we weren't in a support group where we were discussing heavy things about how we were doing or not doing. And it was just a social, fun, relaxed time. And the food here is delicious. And yeah.
It was also the couple time. And what I think a lot of couples say is that they lose that couple time. And so they were able to be as couples with friends. The other thing that I noticed is whenever we have anything in the atrium, and our group is doing, like one time we tried out African musical instruments, and anyone who was in the museum was drawn to this and started joining our group. Nobody knew what our group was, and everybody joined in. And the same thing happened much earlier in an art group where Bobby and it was in the atrium, and everybody was working on an art project, and all of a sudden I noticed a mother and a daughter that I didn't recognize. And I said to Bobby, do you know them? No. Do you know them? Well, it turns out they were just in the museum, and they just sat down at the table and started making something together, and our group didn't care. And but that's what Jessica and a lot of the people mean about getting a real community experience and not feeling singled out, and getting to enjoy the rich benefits of the Durham community that a museum has, and not be so problem or disease focused all the time.
Jessica.
I just wondered if there might be some questions from the audience.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about the program. It sounds wonderful. It makes us all want to move here and participate. Just some nitty-gritty questions, since I facilitate similar programs at our museum up in Pennsylvania. So in terms of pre-registration, what is the number that you limit your groups to for the morning and for the afternoon sessions?
It's 20 in the morning and 24 in the afternoon, and that, Jessica said that, it's dependent on the availability of the docents. Within the morning group, there's 2 groups. Sometimes they split, if it's big, they'll split into 2 groups. In the afternoon, it'll be 2 groups too. 20 is split.
Right, so we'll have 2 docents with each group of 10 in the morning and the same in the afternoon, and then we kind of rotate through the tour.
And just by way of background, there are always 2 social workers from the Duke Family Support Program, so that if the group divides into 2, we split into 2 too. So we're with people we know.
Okay. And then also, could you share some of the themes you've used?
We've done some seasonal themes that, spring, I think we did pretty much every season at some point. We did a tour about masks, and that was a little bit of a stretch, but we figured out a way to find, we have 3 different pavilions, so we try to go into at least 2 of them during each tour. So we're trying to connect, sometimes ancient art to very contemporary art. We did masks. What are some others, Ruth or Maggie? Portraits, and that was the time I think we did the dress up, and then Jay, who you've seen taking photos, took photos of everybody, and everyone got a copy of their couple portrait. Yes. Meditation. We put our heads together every month at a meeting and think about what a tour should be. We as docents also have developed tours for other purposes that will then kind of integrate into these ones. So those are some that come to mind. We could probably share others.
Last question. How often do you do the art making, and how often do you integrate the music with the programs?
We alternate. So 1 month, these are once a month. 1 month is music, the next month art.
How many docents altogether are involved in the program? And how do you assign the docents to?
I'm gonna let Jessica answer that. She's the boss.
The Nasher has 22 gallery guides, and of those 22, 8 are part of the Reflections program. And
So those 8 are then, if you've got, kind of like each 8, so the 8 are involved each month?
not necessarily. It depends on everyone's schedule and availability. But 8 gallery guides plus 2 staff members are part of the tours. And then of the 8, we're very deliberate about having half of those be university students. So having, I don't know that it's half of the moment. A little under, yeah. But having university students be deliberately part of the program.
And it's always the same day of the month?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So the Duke Family Support Program is on the second Wednesday of the month, and then we have a Tuesday that's dedicated for care and day centers, and we have a Tuesday that's dedicated for public tours.
How long is the program from the tour into the art making or the
We do 60 minutes in the galleries, and then a half hour either for the music or the art.
and then that goes into optional lunch?
Optional lunch.
Usually probably closer to 2.5.
Well, some people come at lunch and do the afternoon group. So they would come at 12 and start with lunch and then do the afternoon group. But the group program, the structured program, is an hour and a half total. And that's why I like their flexibility. Is we had one chamber group that was wonderful, but they wanted 45 minutes, and they were so great that it was worth every second. So we cut the art a little bit because everybody loved that group.
And they were terrific.
So for the participants, do you find that the hour and a half is a good time? And did you ever feel that you wanted to create, maybe say if you were making art at the end, did you ever feel like 30 minutes was too short?
Once in a while.
Once in a while.
But I think the hour is a good time.
For the
I think.
gallery.
Yeah, for the gallery. I think that's a super time. And I know with the music, many of us easily have it longer than half an hour.
Like the music, yeah.
But you'd also get involved in whatever art project you were doing. And so it's good.
I've taken some of the work home and finished it.
Right.
And a lot of planning and logistics have gone into that, having the art ready to go as soon as we get there. It's all organized, and they often have other people helping too, which is helpful, other staff helping.
And we should say that we also have had artists, visiting artists with our groups doing the interactive art project. That was fascinating to me.
Yes.
We had a potter who worked with clay. We had somebody who did weaving.
Wood and metal.
Can't remember that.
Screen?
Oh, right. Screen printing, oh, yeah, and then the wood burning, that one.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
No, not at all. I have a question about the Duke Family Support Network. So I guess that's for Lisa or for any of you, but it's sort of about your structure. Are you embedded with the medical center here? Are you independent? I asked.
No, we're community-based. These are not necessarily all Duke patients. We just happen to be located in the Duke Center for Aging space in Duke Hospital. But all our support groups and all our education and support programs, like our specific early stage memory loss program, is for the community. And so the community is large. It is not Durham. And we're drawing from the whole Raleigh area and Chapel Hill and beyond. We've had people in this program from Virginia and Winston-Salem.
Wow. And so just do you serve people that come in as early stage, but then they stick with you?
No, we have support groups for people at varying stages, and it's a very large program. But people who go through an early stage 8-week education and support program then become part of a larger community that one man living with dementia defined as the alphas. He started calling it the alphas. So the alpha community now is about 150 people throughout the area. And we provide a range of programs, including the Nasher, but other arts programs, other support group programs, lectures, and a variety of other programs for people to continue to stay connected so that they have lots of options to see each other during the month. You know, Wednesdays is Nasher Day, you know. There are some things that those rituals get to be really important.
Is lunch paid for by the museum or by the participants?
By the participants.
What was the question? Sorry.
She wondered whether the museum paid for lunch or if participants did.
Participants pay for lunch.
And how about museums charge?
There's no charge, and I think that's really important. And they get parking passes, they get the entire program, and they're not charged for materials fees like art students are. I think that's really a fantastic advantage. It lets people try something that they may never have tried. And we have had people who have never been in a museum. We've had people who say, you know, well, that they look around and they say, well, this is pretty contemporary art in most of this. And sometimes pretty provocative art. Yeah. And some more traditional people have said, well, this isn't my style. But as one man in our group said, you know, where I never thought a 76-year-old man could have so much fun. And he was one of those people who'd never been to a museum.
You mentioned that you all knew each other, the group knew each other prior to beginning the Nasher program. And I was wondering what that looked like and how does an outsider who might not be in the Duke Family Care facility or group come into this program?
Our providers at UNC, There's another blue down the road. But I've learned to really like this blue too, because of this program. So Debbie was in the very early education and support group for early stage Alzheimer's disease
And then
that
we
the
went-
Duke Family Support put on, and that was the 8-week program. So that cohort of people then are connected with other cohorts that come later, which we were part of the one in a year ago. So through the details, the work that Janelli and Bobby and Lisa do to combine everyone together, then that creates an opportunity for us to meet other people that we had not met in our specific group, but that group of 150 people we potentially can meet here.
So that group comes to these Wednesday Look and Lunch once a month. And that's the very first program that we started doing for people with dementia. But we now have started 2 others. One that institutions can sign up to come, so assisted living facilities, and we do a dedicated tour, sort of like these ones. We don't always have music. And now we have a monthly public tour. People need to let us know they're coming, but that can just be an individual and a care partner, and that's Tuesdays once a month. We just recently started those. So we have
What
sort
we've
of 3.
done is we advertise that in a monthly e-newsletter that Janelli Smith is very responsible for. And so people who miss our regular Wednesday, have doctor's appointments, they could go on that Tuesday program and get a pretty similar experience. Mm-hmm. And so that's an advantage for us, and they're expanding the program.
So you mentioned that the Nasher program is one of a number of programs that are offered to people after they've completed an 8-week stint with a support group. Can you tell us what some of the other offerings are?
Yeah, we have another support group that people don't necessarily start in early stage with the 8-week group. And that's been meeting since the 90s, once a month in the morning in a church, and it's for couples or adult parent, adult child. And they meet for 30 minutes all together, an hour separately, separate groups for families and separate groups for people with a diagnosis. And then they all go out to lunch. Lunch seems to be involved in a lot of our stuff. Food is involved in a lot of our stuff, yeah. And then we've also had programs with the Carolina Theater Carolina Theater downtown has public school programs where they bring in artists who are going to be performing for a lot of money at night to do a school program during the day. And so we've tried a couple of times to take our group to a school program where they will give 30 seats to a disability group, basically. But so we have the advantage of being there with all the public schools, which is kind of fun. And depending on the program, we tried that twice. One of them was a little bit too childlike for us, and one of them was phenomenal, and our group loved it. So we've learned to be a little more cautious about which programs we pick. And then we have potlucks, we have lectures, we have groups for family members as their relative progresses that are for more moderate stage support, education and support groups, and a variety of things that people can pick and choose. And then also in the community, there are memory cafes. There are 7 memory cafes in the Triangle area that many of you may have been familiar with, but a lot of the people in our groups participate in some of the memory cafes as well.
Well, then thank you all.